Alrighty, so this is going to be the same deal as last time I made a video. I'm just going to be flip-flopping between the PowerPoint and internet videos, but mainly I'm going to stick on the PowerPoint until like the very end, because that's kind of when I have the music segments. But yeah, anyways, I'll start now. Pierre Boulez was born in 1925 in central France to a fairly well-off family. He was named after his older brother who had died in infancy. His father was a dictator-like figure in the household, very authoritarian. I think it's authoritative. That's the bad one. Um, he was sent to a private Catholic school at a young age, and although he didn't really connect with the spiritual side, his father did have an influence on him. And his Pierre, his love for mathematics and engineering grew steadily over time. Later in life, when he was attending university, his life plans got put on hold because of the German invasion during the Second World War, as did a lot of other composers. Well, he wasn't a composer yet, but his life was put on hold, as was everyone else's at the time. And like any rational person would do in this time of crisis, financially and politically, pursued at this time, he decided to go into music because that's just what people did when they didn't have options. His father reluctantly agreed to give his choice in career. His father reluctantly agreed to his choice in career, and Pierre was shipped off to Paris to start his new life pursuing music. I'm getting a chunk of this information about Pierre from both the Grout textbook and the Classical Nerd, which we all should know. We've used this guy multiple times in class for homework assignments. If you don't know who he is, you've got like 10 assignments to do in this class, and I wish you luck in completing them in like the day that we have left. Good luck. Anyways, the classical nerd created a video on him, like he does for basically every composer, and so I'm going to be pulling information from his research during the presentation alongside from other various sources throughout. Pierre was a pioneer in serial and electroacoustic music, which was steadily growing in popularity at the time to the rapid and sudden jumps in technological advances, allowing devices amp, like amps, electric guitars, phonographs, and other electronic devices to dominate the ever-changing music industry. In his early life, it was quite painfully obvious that he was not a very personable character. Um, like most of the more famous musical influences at the time, he was difficult with his family. He struggled to get along with his mentors, boycotted classes in school just because he wanted to, and he disagreed with the professors, and he would consistently have violent and destructive outbursts. He destroyed manuscripts with letter openers and would shout all the time at people who would just slightly offend him. Um, I think that the overbearing dictatorial father figure and the early introduction to the private school system and like a German invasion made him struggle severely in social settings. Um, One of his first consistent jobs was playing in various pit orchestras and playing on the radio on an instrument that I had never heard of before until researching this guy called I don't know how to pronounce this. Let's see. Why is it not ticking? Oops. We're gonna go back. Ignore that. Sorry. This thing, the Ondes Martenot. That's, I think it might be French. I don't know. It looks like a keyboard, an amp, and a light bulb had a baby. Yeah. There's a lot more backstory here with the relationship between himself, Stravinsky, and other large composers during this time period, but I don't have enough time to go over all of this right now. So if you're curious about more of the backstory and his overall career, I'd recommend giving the listen to the Classical Nerds video on Boulez. Boulez was greatly inspired by Messiaen's mode de velour to apply serialism to the pitch and duration of his music, so that the art of serialism almost so much so that the art of serialism became synonymous with Boulez and his works. He used this method and applied retrograde inversions and other various methods to get a unique sound that were being seriously refined at the time. Boulez, over the years and the course of his career, noticed that his music would often leave the listener with a sense of randomness, confusion, and like un I don't know, they felt unresolved, unsatisfied with the music. It jumped around and seemed almost sporadic to a degree. He sought to be more expressive with his music, but he was convinced that his compositions must be logical and systematic. That's where his engineering and mathematical side comes through. That's the influence of the father in the music. It lacked a steady and distinct rhythm or pulse, a clear time, or a sense of progression that would lead to a climax in the music. That was straight from the Grout textbook, by the way. Um, his serialist outlook on music meant that he took a more scientific and mathematical approach to his compositions, allowing for creativity based on what the performer chose to play, but keeping the harmony and the player in check by not allowing them to really improv. Um, this is a really hard concept to explain. It's like a roadmap, but it doesn't make sense. Um, yeah, I don't know what to make of this, gonna be honest. I think Garrett might be the only one I know who could decipher something like this. Personally, it looks like someone drank a bit too much, grabbed a pen, and decided to draw a treasure map on a manuscript, but I digress. Structures was a suite of pieces, one and two, with Structures 1A being the first and most well known example of total serialism. It was written for two pianos, one with Boulez and the other manned by Messiaen. And jump between time signatures ranging from 2/8 to 3/16. I'm gonna be completely honest here with you guys. This piece started to make me agitated the more I listened to it, and not because it was difficult, which it is, but it is extremely hard to listen to musically. And I'm going to play some of this piece for you now. I give you fair warning. I don't know. Here, I'll click on that. Enjoy. Get out of here, YouTube ads. There's 2/8, 3/8, 5/16, 3/8, 2/8, more 5/16s. And I'm sure this has to do with like tone clusters, and I'm sure there's a very mathematical aspect to this, but I don't understand the musicality of it personally. Bro, get out of here, YouTube. This is the first time I've seen pianissimo in any sort of music. It is kind of fascinating how like you would get two people together to play this because it sounds wrong. Like it sounds like a couple kids like got on the piano and kind of just hit notes every once in a while. I don't know. I'm being a little too critical of this guy, but like I really personally don't understand or like it all that much. And that was 1A. It was 3.5 minutes of that. Yeah. I'm gonna go back to the PowerPoint now. I'm just gonna go back to this thing just so you guys can look at the nightmare roadmap. So now that we've gone through the piece, I'd like to try to explain to the best of my ability what is going on here. The classical musical nerd guy says that although his serialist ideas were portrayed here, it was a failure because not it was a failure to him because it didn't turn out the way that he envisioned it in his head. However, this was a common thing throughout his career. He consistently looked down on his work, not because it was bad, but because it wasn't what he was searching for in terms of form and harmony. He would use sets of music mathematically in new pieces because there were endless derivatives of those massive mathematical properties to build from. I don't know. For the most part, his works, for the most part, sorry, for most of his works, he believes that the 12 tone technique was necessary and he believed that it was a way of life. He practiced it like a religion. Dissonance and sporadic behaviors are both tendencies in these pieces. It's obvious that a serialist mindset led to some fairly strange sounding music. In regards to structures, however, it sounded like piano, like someone learning piano for the first time. Um, when I mentioned earlier that his music would leave listeners confused, I was speaking from personal experience. I'm being too harsh. Sorry. Other composers use serialist techniques following Boulez and would develop alongside him as well. His works with Stravinsky proved fruitful, considering the dissonance in his pieces and the newer sounds that were being made. Both of them were inspired by Schoenberg, who invented the 12 tone patterns and made music into math, which for some people like Boulez helped him learn how to compose. Boulez impacted the musical world by introducing new serialist ideas, helping to popularize the use of mathematics and a reason to compose over the classical and more traditional way that something would have been made. And he used manuscripts like roadmaps, like whatever this is here, literally more than figuratively. Um, his fiery passion and attitude will forever resound in the art form and composition style of serialism. And some have even called Boulez an ultra serialist because of his extreme dedication to the style. I personally would not like to end this recording without listening to something a little more palatable than structure. So I leave it off. So I'm going to leave it off with just a small short segment of a piece. This was composed by Boulez and it is called Memorial or Memorial, whatever you want to call it. I still think it's French. If you know anything about the 12 tone methods, patterns, or serialism in general, try to pick out some of the tendencies you can hear while listening to the piece. The score will change on its own, similar to the way the structures did. So just try to follow along as you go. Sorry, it's a little bit blurry. I can't control the YouTube quality. Alrighty, I'm gonna stop talking and let you guys enjoy. Okay. Anyways, that was just a little bit of clip. I don't know what is happening in my YouTube right now. Can I exit this, please? Okay. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed whatever structures one it was, and I hope you enjoyed whatever that last piece was. Hopefully, you learned little bit out serialism and some of the tendencies. Maybe you're able to pick some of it out even. Alrighty. Well, that is gonna be all. Thank you guys.